Okay, we are recording. So while we wait, the dad jokes have begun already, Jay. All right. What do you call Santa's little helpers? Santa's little helpers. Subordinate clauses. Very nice. Boom, boom. Thank you, Joey, for posting the agenda.
I don't have any dad jokes, but we did have a very amusing thing happen in the Discord a couple of days ago. We got two new accounts that joined, and they suddenly had started having a private conversation with them about one being an entrepreneur and one's girlfriend winning a skiing competition. And we're just sat there watching these two obvious bots having a chat with each other. And then one goes, "How you doing?" And the other one goes, "Oh, it's great. I'm earning some tokens at the moment." And the other one goes, "Hey, how do you do that?" And it's like, "Oh, let me post this Discord link." This was an automated script from two bots that were joined and just having a conversation, and we were just sat there watching them have this conversation in a fishbowl. And I just said,
that's some entertainment.
don't engage with them. Just watch the script. So yeah, if you see two people having a discussion about being entrepreneurs or winning somebody's girlfriend winning a skiing competition, it's bots having a fun.
Flag a moderator. Oh, we got more jokes. Oh, we got so many, I can't keep up. Okay. Why do you put a bell on a cow? Because their horns don't work. Wow. What do you call a fake dad? Nice try. A faux pas. Let's see if I got any more. Oh, these are all terrible, actually. What kind of music do elves listen to? Rap music.
Sorry, I was gonna unmute myself to groan.
I'll take groans. That's fine. Still waiting on this notification to go out. 5 minutes in here, so we might just need to get started sooner than later. Yeah, all right. 12:06. All right, we'll get started, and hopefully the notification goes out quickly thereafter. So, all right, let's get started. Wednesday, November 29th, Helium Community Call. So just a reminder, this call is being recorded. You can find the call in Governance General later on. You can also find it at our YouTube link, and hopefully we can post a link in the chat there for the YouTube link for the calls. There is no video, it's just audio. But yeah, you can find it there. Moving forward, just one moment here. Let's repost the agenda just so people have it. Just gonna copy that. All right. So if you look at the agenda, you'll see what we're looking at today. Waveform is our note taker, so thank you very much for that. And we're going to get started. So first up, we're going to talk about Foundation membership. Scott, if you can come on up and talk about that for us.
Yep, happy to do it. Thanks, Keenan.
Thank you.
All right, guessing audio is okay. So want to remind everybody about the Foundation membership program, which will be formally live in 2024. Just a reminder for folks, so there's a twofold goal behind membership. One is more structure around network growth in general. We want to be able to better leverage the Foundation's public relations resources, our communications channels, bringing those to the community and our aligned stakeholders. Other thing is more collaboration, more closely with other organizations on events. Nikki, for those who haven't met, our events lead is already speaking with several teams here. So for any of the teams that are out there looking at a priority industry event, now is the time to reach out. So would love to have you joining on the call next week as we're starting to nail down what 2024 is going to look like for events. Other things, there are multiple services that Foundation's already providing. We want to continue to think about how we can expand on that. Some of this has been services for vendors, makers, but all this stuff are things that we're going to be able to tuck under membership going forward. Other thing, as far as the other goal of membership is, I think I've covered this on past calls. This is going to be an important revenue stream for Foundation operations in the future. So we want to make sure we're laying the groundwork now for a highly valuable membership program that benefits the business goals of everybody involved. So, but this is also for individuals want to continue to participate in other strategic growth initiatives, events, want to really empower the whole community to how we can think about better education at a local level. Obviously, we're thinking about the overall narrative and how we can expand the reach on that, but sometimes just being on the ground and getting in front of city leaders is the way that we can be the most effective. So how we think about putting together templates, key messaging points, and kind of disseminating those out. We'll do some certainly publicly, but membership is really going to be the hub of how we drive those things. So next meeting, next week, Thursday, December 7th. The agenda is up in the registration link under Discord events. So we're going to be talking about, I think I already mentioned, the 2024 events. Talk a little bit about some of the growth hurdles on the demand side and how we can improve there, whether that's education, product strategy. I do want to take another look at the grant program and how it evolves from here. So check out the events link right here in Discord. Registration link is there. And probably our last meeting we're going to have open to all before we start getting more tactical in 24. So hope to see you there. And any other questions? Membership@helium.foundation if you want to ping for a one-on-one conversation. Otherwise, see folks next Thursday.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And it looks like Waveform posted a link to the Helium Foundation membership call in the chat. Like Scott said, you can find it in the events link. Just before we move forward as well, just wanted to touch base on something that I wanted to mention at the beginning of the call. There's a couple of conflicts today, I believe, so certain people might not be able to make it. We'll try and circle back to them if they can make it later on in the call, but just a heads up, it might be a bit of a shorter call. But moving forward, we've got events report. Brandy, I see you're already up here. If you can give us an update on events, that would be lovely.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So yes, we had a very productive month when it came to events, PR, and marketing. I hope that you are following us on all of our social media channels. Shameless plug for all of those channels: Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, follow us. That is the best way to stay up to date on all of the press that we're getting, the buzz that we're getting, the places that the team is out at, the partners that we are talking with, and all of the great things that we're doing together with you in the community, and getting the word out about the network. So let's start with the first thing that I was excited about, that we were able to kind of get some awareness about, and that was the announcement with Swissborg. So Helium HNT token was listed on Swissborg. I hope you did not miss that news. A press release went out and it was announced from the stage at Breakpoint. So that was quite exciting. The team at Swissborg was there at Breakpoint in Amsterdam, and their CEO made the announcement from his talk. So that was pretty exciting. He gave a nice shout out to the Helium network. So very exciting to see. If you missed it, I believe the talk is still live on their YouTube channel. So you can catch it there, or certainly you can find the press release out there where it made the big announcement for us. So very, very cool, very exciting, good news there that kind of kicked off for us. And then, of course, our CEO, Abai, gave a fabulous talk at Breakpoint, and that was followed by our head of protocol engineering, Noah, who was also on stage. So we had a great presence from the foundation, talking all about the network and great use cases and our Solana partnership there, and had some great questions. And I saw all kinds of buzz on social media as we monitor that back here. And it was just good to see. And I also saw that the t-shirt that Noah was wearing about the HNT token seemed to be quite a hit. So if you missed that, check out our Twitter. That was quite a buzz and certainly trending on social. And good news, you can buy one if you definitely still want to get in it. Get in on getting one. I can post that. That is for sale if you're interested. Shameless plug for the t-shirt if you want to wear the brand out there in public. But you can grab that. So 2 great talks, great brand awareness for the Helium network and the community. Really good to see everyone talking about the network, and really, really excited about what's going on, about the use cases, about all the great builders doing great things on the Helium network. So great stuff going on there. The other exciting event that went down and press conference was at Smart Cities in Barcelona. So we did, there's the t-shirt. I see it in chat. Noah wore it. I have one. Everybody should wear it. Great t-shirt. Jumping back to Smart Cities, we had an event booth that was non-stop activity. The traffic, I was at this event, and the traffic was just literally nonstop. We had one of the busiest booths there. Again, go hit up social if you're not following us. I was taking pictures. The foundation team that was there on the ground, we were taking pictures and putting it on social as much as we could so that anyone that wasn't able to join us at that event could see the type of traffic and the flow we were getting. But the Helium network was a buzz there. Everyone was stopping by. Our key partners who are building on the network were there: Heliotics, Seed, the list goes on. The Lower Ran Alliance was there. We did a partnership happy hour. Folks were coming by. They were just really excited to learn more and educate others. So just really excited to see that buzz in the community. We had a really great presser where we announced a partnership with the city of Valencia, in where they are putting sensors in homes to help combat energy poverty. So really, really great message about, combating energy poverty, which affects 23% of the city of Valencia households. So really helping folks for the greater good, which is just another amazing message that builders are using the Helium network to do. So great presser, got some really good media hits. I can grab those later and put them in the chat. But some good Spain media hits and some good IoT media hits that we were able to obtain through that presser. Scott was our spokesperson there on stage. So thank you, Scott, for doing that on behalf of the foundation and for the network and the community. Really appreciate it. So thank you to all of you for continuing to build and help us, tell these stories. That's what we're here to do. And because of you, that helps us, get these stories out. So keep feeding us these great stories, and we can continue to build the brand and put these out in front of the right people. So great month overall. And let's keep going. We've got some more stuff on the docket for December, but November was a win in my book. So looking forward to continuing that pace. And that's all from me, folks. Looking forward to this.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
That is an awesome update. It was clearly a really busy month. There's a lot going on, which is great to see. Okay, up next, we've got an MCC update. Scott, if I can have you back up.
Right. Actually, Abai, you want to kick us off on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
I'll
important
jump
to
in.
get right to the kind of topic relating to makers and the MCC, and we can talk about the MCC a little bit. But I think we have seen it all over Discord. You're all hearing about it even on Twitter and Reddit and a lot of other places. So I think the problem that we're all seeing is that we are seeing that makers aren't filling up the onboarding credits for wallets to be able to onboard their hotspots. And that's one of many issues that we're seeing in the maker program in general. This is leading to bad hotspot owner experience. I mean, imagine buying a hotspot for the first time and being introduced to the network for the first time, and your first action is, oh, I can't onboard this thing. And it's really frustrating. Also frustrating for the folks who might have wanted to onboard a hotspot that they've had. They're excited to deploy a new use case and they're unable to do so. It really does erode trust in the supply side of the network. And some changes have to happen. For folks that are a little newer to the network, the context here is that the community passed a HIP. It was called HIP 19. It set up this concept of third-party makers. Initially, Nova Labs, at the time Helium Systems, was the only one making hotspots, and the different teams in the ecosystem wanted to make sure that there were lots of options for folks all over the world. Also, one company going to every country and getting FCC or equivalent certifications for their hotspot, it really isn't scalable either. So, we went wide. The process created the MCC, and then the makers were obligated to do the work, right? So they were obligated to update firmware. They were obligated to provide onboarding credits, and they baked that into the cost of their hotspot. And so, there have been a lot of different ideas around expanding their obligations. One was around the vendor lockup idea that was explored in 2022. It was HIP 65. And this just really didn't have a lot of buy-in. The economics were difficult. It was, but the focus was really around good behavior and anti-gaming, not necessarily onboarding guarantees. So it really didn't get off the ground. So there aren't a lot of accountability measures today, except for revoking a maker's key, which just actually creates just as bad of a user experience. So, what is our role here? Our foundation, the foundation and, core devs and the ecosystem, like we have certain capabilities. Obviously, we can talk to the makers. We can ask them to keep updating their data credit balances, and many of them have. We've actually helped a few makers who have some operational issues with buying HNT, and we've offered to help them with that. Basically, we invoice them and we buy it on the market and burn the data credits for them. So we've been doing that for them, and that's been working for some folks. And other makers have just not been as responsive on this. Not just about onboarding credits, but also things like firmware updates. So, there is some. We definitely still have more work to do here. I think some folks in the community just want to update their just want to onboard their hotspot, and I think that's something that I was actually talking about earlier today to try to spec out. Like, could we just, if the hotspot owner just wants to onboard it and pay for it themselves, and if they just don't want to deal with waiting, we should give them the opportunity to do this. I personally am a strong believer in like right to repair rules, and this is something that a lot of places in the world you should be able to do things like this with your own hardware. So I think that we should enable this, and we'll figure out how to do this, and we'll get back to the community on this. But at least with the makers that are talking to us today, I think there's a couple of things that we want to do. We sent an email out to every single maker yesterday or the day before, where we're going to take a census of all of them. Right, we're going to figure out how they can refresh their sales and support channels, make sure that they're going to provide details in their current operations, and we put a deadline on this by the end of the year. And we we're proposing to them that rather than sort of signing up for the ethics doc that the MCC was as a requirement when they onboarded for the first time, they contract directly with the foundation. And what that does there is that there's an actual legal agreement that they have to, and some other counterparty that they have to contract with. And then we want them to fund an on-chain escrow. And I know there's some specifics around this that folks probably want to iterate on, and I think we should, but I think we do need to establish some guarantee that if they want to add a hotspot or they want to sell a hotspot, there is a sufficient amount of data credits available on chain to do this. So that you don't have to have a hotspot owner just get sick of it and say, you know what, I'll just pay it for myself. And that wouldn't be required necessarily. Some of our makers have overfunded their balances, and Seed's a well-known example of this. You have other folks, I think MileSite and Linksdot at times have had some issues, but like generally speaking, like there's been some folks that have overfunded their wallets on purpose for just so that this user experience issue doesn't happen. And really, as a community, we should appreciate that some are doing this like that. And the last thing that I think that we should be doing is I think we need better dashboarding around this stuff where everyone in the community can have an absolutely up-to-date version of this. I think it should be visible in the app when you're onboarding, whether or not a maker is prepared to go through the onboarding flow with you. They've fulfilled their obligations. So these are all the things that we want to do. So that's what we're going to be doing on the foundation side. But I think there's room for the community to also do things here. I think I'd love to have conversations with folks in the community, and I know there's already been some. So I want to follow up on some of those around, how do we reduce the perpetual reliance on makers? How do we codify some of these new requirements that we want on makers? How do we, I'd love more conversation around the HIP that we proposed around the new MCC entity, and what kind of rights does that entity have that we're delegating to them as a community. These are all things that I'd like us to do. So yeah, I think Scott, I think I probably missed some stuff in there. Anything else that I missed?
No, I actually think you covered pretty much most of the historical context and kind of some of the steps that we're taking right now around, again, the census for makers, really making sure we're refreshing everything around sales and support channels, really giving them this deadline to get the ecosystem in a healthier place from a supply side perspective. But yeah, I think the more we can have accountability measures that are not just the blunt instrument of key removal, that's where we want to go.
Yeah, and I think you're going to talk about office hours, something that you were thinking about as well.
Yeah. So, and again, I'll take some of the hit on for 99 that have not been as available to engage in discussion. Maybe we just need to have a separate, called office hours, town hall, what have you, around what it could look like to evolve either the MCC or specifically have a separate subsidiary that is kind of managing this process overall. So we will get that on the calendar in the next, let's call it next week. We'll find time that can suit for as many time zones as we can.
All right,
So
awesome.
that's a general update on makers. There's the question in the chat that I see is, what is the solution, today for those who can't onboard? And unfortunately, there isn't a solution today. This is, I think we can probably throw together a solution in the app where you can forego the what is owed to you as a purchaser of a hotspot and pay for it yourself if you just want to onboard the hotspot. I think that's the closest thing that we can do. Everything else probably requires a HIP. The reason why I don't think that specifically requires a HIP is that it is still, the makers are still accountable for onboarding, and you're not actually saying that they aren't accountable. You're just accepting that you're going to pay for it this time, and they're still accountable for. Hopefully that answers your question, Shot Caller. It's not a perfect answer, though. I'll admit that. Yeah, definitely open to talking about tactics like that on Zoom. And this, for the folks in their recording, this is an idea of having a line of credit so that the community doesn't feel the pain. Definitely possible if the foundation has a contractual agreement with the makers, which we don't today.
Thanks, Abai. Okay. Just taking a look at the comments here as well. Just a quick note. I noticed the Discord notification went out 24 minutes late, so I apologize to all those people who joined in late. Just a note that we are recording the call. So after the call is finished, you can go back to that recording and listen to the start of it. We'll have it in Discord and on YouTube. Just a heads up. Just moving forward, we're going to have an engineering update from Noah. And it looks like Noah's already up on the stage.
Yep. Just been chilling here. So not too much to update, although a lot of big stuff coming. So if you haven't updated your app to 2.4.2, the wallet app, you should. There were some important bug fixes in there. And this kind of whole line of releases also came with the auto gas management and the ability to effectively, swap any of your tokens into Sol as needed. So definitely recommend taking advantage of that. Hopefully that solves a lot of the problems we've been seeing around not enough Sol and, needing to have 0.02 Sol in your wallet. The next big things coming are having to do with modular governance. So there will actually be an upcoming mobile working group candidate vote that's going to be using modular governance. And we've been working on integrating that into the wallet app. So hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll actually be able to get a release out to where you'll be able to vote on HIPs directly inside the Helium wallet app, which will be a much improved user experience. And then even more forward looking than that, we're kind of looking at ways to enable proxy voting. So if you want to, proxy your votes to your neighbor and your neighbor wants to proxy their votes to somebody else, you can kind of create a line of trust where you grant somebody else the right to vote for you. And then if you disagree with what they voted with, you can actually go and revoke that. All of this is kind of, with the goal of improving voter turnout overall. If pretty good turnout for, a DAO, but it's just always better to see more. Oh, and I guess also on the wallet app front, we will likely be adding a feature to make it so that you can pay for the onboard yourself if the maker has not fulfilled that. If you're just, really trying to unblock yourself. We'll probably be adding that. And then there's also going to be some implementation around HIP 96 that needs to happen so that mobile hotspots will not have onboarding fees. And that's going to be a little bit different than the IoT ones because I think there's also a burn of mobile that occurs there.
Awesome. Thank you for the update, Noah. Just on that note, too, yeah, a lot of great features coming back to the Helium Wallet app. So if you haven't already, make sure you're staying up to date. Check your Play Store or App Store update. I think we're on 2.4.2 right now. A lot of features have returned to the app. Give it a try. Thank you, Noah, for working on that. It's awesome. Next up, we've got Governance Office Hours Report from Waveform. Waveform's already up here as well. Everyone's on the ball today. Awesome. Loving it.
Yeah, we've had 2 more meetings. There's been some spirited discussions. I'm taking what everyone said and we'll be creating an update to the charter. It may be confusing, the charter in there with different people's opinions, but I then want everybody to review and then we can decide and pick which parts and which viewpoints will be the ones that we can proceed with in the future. It's been some good discussions and some honest discussions and a lot of feedback, and not everybody will be happy in the future. And we are going to part of the governance committee will be implemented initially, and then it will be up to the governance committee to make some of the changes that the community is actually asking for the governance committee in the future. But the next 2 calls are going to be Tuesday next week and then the Tuesday evening in 2 weeks after that, very later. I'll be publicising in the invites on Discord for the events what the discussions will be for those events. Try not to duplicate things because we've discussed a lot in the past. So it'll be discussions on different subjects or clarifying things that we've had a lot of discussion on, a lot of disagreement about, so we can actually try and find some common ground. All done.
Great. Thank you. All right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You have something else to add there, Waveform?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Hot mic, I guess. All right. So up next, we've got Foundation Console update from Joey. Take it away, Joey.
I'll also, Seth, I'll pull you up in just a sec. We'll talk about dedicated console a little bit.
Amazing. Thank you, Joey.
Oh, you're already in here. Hey. I first want to cover a little bit on the state of Foundation Console. And so many of the folks in this call probably noticed the announcements. If you haven't, there's a console announcements channel where we've been posting some updates. We've been noticing effectively exploits of Foundation Console's generous payment methods. And namely, what we've been seeing is folks using credit cards and then doing things like chargebacks, or using stolen credit cards, or who knows, there could be a number of things happening there. Regardless, the means of acquiring data credits has caused an issue wherein folks have been running up large numbers of usage with effectively negative impacts for the Foundation Console in and of itself. And so as a result, we've had to pause the onboards for Foundation Console. And at this time, we will likely not be seeking to return new user accounts on Foundation Console. Now, with this in mind, I'm currently working through a proposal, and this is a HIP that's probably about half written, and I may very well just try to get this circulated in its half written state so we can start collecting comments here. And the idea here is to bring a new class for folks to come and experiment and learn how to use the Helium network. So what this would look like is a instance of likely chirp stack, and it would be configured in such a way that the traffic that goes through it is free to the end user, and similarly also has to be unrewarded to gateways to eliminate the gaming vectors that may exist for offering free data transfer. As a sort of tangent or a sort of associated piece of this is that the devices onboarded to this console would be strictly enabled for a trial basis. So they would be available for approximately a week. And then after that, those devices would be blocked from onboarding for a period of approximately 2 weeks. And this allows for folks to buy a developer kit, experiment, try integrations, and learn how to use the Helium network without needing to seek out and find a favorite LNS operator. And on that note, one of the things that we could do is to start to further drive our community to go leverage the broader ecosystem that we've been seeing of community operators and sort of further reinforce them in a way that console doesn't compete.
Yeah, I think that's my segue to jump in here.
Cool. Yeah. And then maybe once you're done, I'll grab some questions as those roll in. But yeah, go ahead and take it away, Seth.
Sounds great. Thanks, Joey, and thank you, Keenan, for inviting me today. Quick note from our kind of Nova Labs dedicated console side of things. In case you missed it, I actually spoke at the community call. I believe it was just last month. But to all the folks in the crowd today, just to clarify, Nova Labs will be sunsetting our instance of dedicated console coming up very shortly here on December 7th. I feel like there's always a disclaimer to add. This sunset only impacts the Nova Labs dedicated console, otherwise known as the VIP console. That's what it's often referred to in the community. So if you log into your console instance and you don't see a URL that includes VIP in the top, currently no action is required for you. But if you are one of those existing users, please reach out to myself. I'll be sure to drop my email address into the chat here, or reach out to our sales teams, which is just the sales@nova-labs.com email, just to make sure that we have everything prepared for you before that official December 7th sunset date. And just, I think it's important to clarify what the options are for our existing users. And this will once again probably segue well into this amazing expansion of LNS providers that we're seeing in the ecosystem. So for existing users, you can of course transition to our new console, the 1663 console. Quick plug there, we released, kind of formally announced this yesterday with a new blog and product page. Check that out if you haven't already. You can, of course, self-host your own private console or LNS, which we're seeing a lot of, which is amazing for the ecosystem. And last but certainly not least, if you go on over to the Helium doc site, there is an amazing page full of, I think the count is now 11 or 12 different Helium-compatible LNS providers, which for the ecosystem is amazing to see. If you haven't taken action yet and you are an existing user of the Nova Labs dedicated or VIP console, I highly encourage you to check out that list of providers to find someone that may suit your business. So yeah, that's kind of where I'll stop here. If you have questions, I'll drop my email in the chat here. Once again, the official sunset date for our dedicated console is still scheduled for the 7th of next week. But yeah, any questions, direct them to myself, and I'll let Joey talk a little bit more about some of the amazing LNS providers we're seeing joining the ecosystem.
You just want me to plug you, don't you?
I'm
going to jump.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me jump in. I just want to answer a couple of questions. Siegfried had a really good one here, which is what would be happening for new devices, what would happen for things like mapper devices or volunteer coverage mapping. So for any existing device, I'll sort of talk about the coverage mapping piece first. They would be able to continue to operate on Foundation console. Furthermore, any accounts there that have not gone over their 10 device limit would still be able to onboard devices. And they would also be able to continue funding their data credit balances to keep those devices operational. For new devices, that includes in that 10, for anyone that's maxed that out, no more new devices there. For mapping devices specifically, one of the things that I'm excited about for the approach that I'm taking in this improvement proposal is that it does open the opportunity for us to possibly stand up a dedicated mapping LNS wherein folks would be able to onboard those devices specifically for the purpose of mapping and nothing else. And that's something that we haven't fully spec'd out, but I think is an interesting opportunity that comes about from the approach that we're taking here. There was one other question, Alex. Current users, yeah, so current DC balances would remain on Foundation Console. Unfortunately, setting a DC spend limit per device doesn't necessarily solve our problem, specifically because we used to have, the free data credit balances for new user accounts, and what we would just see is numerous accounts being spun up. So it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, and in the interest of maintaining our time and sanity and focus on the foundation and core developer teams, our best approach here is to sort of move forward from the free option. That's all from me, and do keep an eye out for a proposal. I'll try to drop that in the HIP discussion channel either today or tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you for the update, Joey and Seth. All right. Next up, I'm going to call up from the working groups. So the first one would be Zero Tweets. If you can jump up on stage and give us an update from the mobile working group. And I believe Heated Lime, you're going to also speak from the working group. Perfect. There we go. All right, take it away.
All right.
Go ahead, Boris.
Yep. Hey, everybody. Okay, so a lot of things going on the mobile working group front. So first of all, the voting for the new members is, I think, open, or the nominations are open. Keith is our resident expert on voting and nomination logistics. So I don't know, Keith, if you want to chime in with any details on that. I understand that there's some spots available currently. We have Keith in the audience.
I believe we do, but I think he's preoccupied. But he just told me to basically state that the deadline, I think, was extended to tomorrow for nominations, and voting starts on December 7th.
Cool. So if you're interested in participating in mobile working group as a formal elected member, this is your chance. Go ahead and nominate yourself. If you have any questions about how to do so, you can reach out to myself, Keith, or Heated Lime, and we can point you in the right direction. Next, probably the biggest announcement is around HIP 74, which evolves the proof of coverage approach from the current sort of UBI approach to the approach where we are actually looking at the number of hexes covered by the radios and the Wi-Fi hotspots. HIP 74 is scheduled to go live on chain this Thursday, which also coincides with the mobile working group meeting, where we can sort of do an open Q&A and discussion about all things HIP 74. That's probably the biggest update to the POC that's been in the works for almost a year. Next thing worth mentioning is we have been steadily making progress on yet another approach to kind of updating the POC called Oracle Hex Boosting. To sum it up, it's basically about not treating all hexes on the nationwide map equally. We're going to use an external database, and we'll prioritize the hexes with a lot of footfall, and then we'll have hexes with medium footfall and no footfall, and depending on which hexes your radio covers, you will earn more or less POC. This is still kind of being conceptualized, I don't think that there is actually a PR submitted in Git for that HIP, but there is publicly available Word documents have been published on Discord multiple places. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at those, as this will dramatically affect how the POC works and how much your radio will earn depending on its location. Next HIP worth mentioning, or HIP concept, is HIP 97. This is the one that Heated Lime has been pioneering working on, but it's about eliminating assertion fees for Wi-Fi hotspots. While it's a relatively small and seemingly insignificant change to how the network operates, it will actually have pretty meaningful implications when it comes to the deployment experience. Eliminating these fees would allow us to really implement a completely plug-and-play approach for Wi-Fi deployment. So you won't really even need an app to deploy a Wi-Fi access point. You can literally just plug it into an Ethernet outlet and have it completely boot up by itself and self-assert its location, start providing the service. The builder app can then only be used for basically monitoring the hotspot and checking how much it's earning. So it eliminates a lot of friction from the deployment process. And I think that most folks are on board with moving forward with HIP 97. So I'm pretty happy about that. So to close out, a few announcements that are more like Nova-centric, but nonetheless will have fairly profound influence on what's happening in the community. First, we have an ongoing beta for CBRS geofencing. So for those of you who haven't heard, we've found a way to really deliver smooth handovers between T-Mobile network and the CBRS network. And prior to rolling it out broadly, we are currently running beta for, those who are interested to participate in this and give us feedback on how the handovers are working. So if you're interested in participating in beta, you can ping Lee in Discord, and he will add you to the pool of the beta users. We have the outdoor Wi-Fi hotspot coming very soon, like in a couple of weeks. Is going to be publicly available, so look out for that. Along with a much asked for nationwide mobile plan. So right now, Helium Mobile is available exclusively in the 3 counties in Florida. So, a lot of the community been asking us to make it possible for there to be a nationwide plan such that people can, sort of help promote the service. So the nationwide plan is coming again. You will hear about it officially before the end of the year. And the last thing I wanted to mention is in the last workgroup meeting, I think folks have raised an ask to make it possible for the Wi-Fi hotspots that are currently available to also broadcast public Wi-Fi SSID for anybody able to use this, hotspot as a guest Wi-Fi service. The reason for it is, for builders that are looking to entice different coffee shop owners to place the Wi-Fi hotspot inside. This is a sort of a good feature to promote, because not only can that Wi-Fi hotspot provide coverage for Helium mobile subscribers, which is a limited pool, it can also provide Wi-Fi coverage for pretty much anybody visiting the coffee shop. So we are working on making that feature available as well. So I'll close my update on that note.
Excellent. Thank you, Boris. And just one more time, Heated Lime, if you had anything to add before we move on.
Nothing to add. Thanks.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Next up, we've got the IoT working group. However, I'm not sure if we have anyone available to give us an update. So I'll just pause for a moment here and just see if anyone is available in this chat from the IoT working group to give us a quick update. If not, we'll move along to the next topic. Let's pause here for just a moment. If there is anyone from the working group, feel free to put your hand up or just chime in the chat. Okay, looks like we don't have an update for you this week, so we will move along. Max, if I can get you up here to speak about HIP 96.
All right, this will be a real quick update. HIP 96 passed. I think we got like 88% of the vote. For those that are unaware, HIP 96 defined the onboarding fees for the Wi-Fi APs for the mobile subdial. One slight point of ambiguity on there was using mobile to pay for that. There was a question of how is it paid for. Just want to clear that up. It was, there's only one way of paying for things on the Helium network, and that's burning. So apologies if that was ambiguous in the text, but the mobile will be burned. That's all update.
Cool. Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. Heated Lamb, if I can get you back up here again, just to discuss HIP 98. If you can give us a quick rundown.
Hey, yeah. So HIP 98 pretty much establishes and memorializes the quality of service requirements for CBRS radios and for Wi-Fi hotspots. Previously, as a requirement to earn mobile, you had to have pass specific speed tests and heartbeat checks. That wasn't solidified in a HIP or anything, so this HIP is just solidifying those requirements to make sure that the community agrees with those requirements.
Cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And next up for a new HIP, we've got HIP 100, triple digits, waveform. If you want to talk about HIP 100, please.
Yeah, well, I've discussed this on the last two calls. HIP 100 is about defining our default frequency of EU 868 for all African countries that don't have a defined frequency, or ones, there's a few that seem to be heading in a way away from EU 868. But otherwise, what we'll be doing is setting EU 868 as the default frequency, and then anyone who's attempting to deploy in a country where the region frequency is currently unknown, we will be supporting them in any way possible, saying that our standard is the one that we believe the African Telecoms Union and all the local authority and approvals organizations will be using in the future. There's sometimes a few little tweaks I'm making this. I mean, originally I had in Sierra Leone and then removed it because of information I had received from the LoRa Alliance, but it looks like I can update the LoRa Alliance, for example, there with information that they didn't have, that people are using EU 868, and it probably will be approved, whereas they didn't have any. So there'll be a lot of communication with different telecoms authorities over the next few years, but we want to establish a default and say we will support this, rather than asking what do you support, we will implement it. But it will always be what will the local telecoms authority tell us. If they tell us that they don't want to use EU 868, we will be changing that frequency as per our normal procedures for changing frequencies. But if anybody's out there wanting help deploying, setting a standard for EU 868 in any of the African countries, please let me know. Please comment in the channel. I'd love to hear from you, know what your experiences are, know what help we can give you.
Awesome. Thank you, Waveform. We're coming to near the end here. We've got just one more topic. We've got draft HIP proposals. Now, I believe the first one is labeled Remove IoT Latency Sorting. I'm going to butcher this name. I apologize. B Duffs? B Duffs? If you're in the audience and you want to discuss it, please jump on up. But I'm not sure if they are around or not. So again, I'll just pause for a moment here.
Yeah, that's Benoit from Perlink. He said he may not be able to make it or not. I think Hashcode's trying to tag him.
Perfect. Okay, I'll just pause for a minute here.
Yeah, this was an alternative to the one proposed for HIP 94. There are discussions in there. And he came up with another variant of what we could be doing for rewarding the fastest or the average or the most frequent responders to POC beacons.
Okay, I see he was tagged. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the next one and then just circle back and just give them a moment. So an update to HIP 93, location trust score implementation. One more time, Heated Lime, if you can come on back up.
I don't think this one is me. I think either Boris or Italian dude online or somebody from Nova should probably take this one, as I'm not a hip author on 93.
No, but you created an issue on 93.
Boris, you sound like a robot. Something is up with your voice there.
Can you guys, how about now? Still robot?
Nope, that's better.
Can you repeat the context for the HIP 93? I missed the question when it was originally asked.
Yeah, it was just an update to 93's location trust score implementation. Yeah, if there's any kind of update on that, the draft HIP.
To be honest, I don't know, because Italian dude is the main steward of the location trust score. Is the question like what are we talking about here updating? I'm not sure. So there is a concept of the trust score. I know that there's been some discussion back and forth with respect to how the trust score should be implemented with respect to its influence over the POC earnings. I don't know the nitty-gritty of where the latest is in terms of where we've landed. Or do you want just an overview of what the location trust score is?
Yeah, let's just do that. Just give us a quick rundown of it, and then perhaps next month, Italian dude can give us a more detailed update.
Yeah, so the general idea behind the location trust score is to adjust the proof of coverage returns for a hotspot depending on the events that have happened during a given period of time that effectively validate its location. And there is a few events that can help validate location. So for instance, for a Wi-Fi hotspot, the initial event is that the user asserts the hotspot at a location. So this user asserted data point is probably the least reliable and most gameable. Next level of specificity is a skyhook service within the hotspot can create an assertion that can align or not align with what the user has asserted. Further, a discovery mapping device can pass data through the hotspot and report its location nearby. So there's like 3 levels of certainty that we have about the location. The user input, which is mostly useless, Skyhook input, which is fairly accurate, but in some isolated instances can provide like an imprecise radius that can, basically be plus minus a hex incorrect. And then there is the end user sort of, subscriber validation from a phone. So what HIP93 proposes is, this concept of the location trust score that, depending on how many of the 3 the hotspot has effectively participated in during a given period of time, it will have a certain proof of coverage multiplier attached. So, if it's just a user assertion only and the user assertion does not align with Skyhook, then you will have a sub 1 multiplier, something to the tune of 0.25. If it's user asserted and Skyhook validated, then it's 0.75. And then if it's all 3, then it's 1 or something to that effect. And I think that there's a discussion ongoing about which events we should, consider as valuable to prove the location and what the multipliers should look like. And where the latest thinking on that discussion is, I'm not entirely up to date, and we'll probably need Italian dude for that. But that's the gist of it here. That's the gist of the location assertion part of the HIP 93.
Thank you, Boris. Appreciate the explanation there. And I see in the chat, Waveform has added the link to where you can go read about the proposal. Just circling back one more time to remove IoT latency sorting from B. Duffs or Benoit. It looks like he's not available, so we will just skip that for now. And I believe we are at the top of the hour and we are complete. So, yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. The next call is scheduled for December 27th. Just a reminder, one more time, this call has been recorded. You can find it in the Discord at Governance General. It'll also be added to Foundation's channel as a YouTube video. And yeah, that has been it. Thank you everyone for joining and listening in, and to all the presenters. Thank you so much for your participation. We will see you next month. Have a good one, everyone. And if I don't hear from you, happy holidays.